Well, as long as we're all together, we're just waiting for Pat. Hopefully she'll be able to sign in. There's four of us. Jerry, will you just take the roll for the time being so we know who was here, please?
Okay, Chairman Bernie Pigeon, Vice Chair David Hurt, Jody Smith, and myself, Jerry Stefanski.
Thank you. And as guests, we have Alan Slavin, Claire Smith, and Jim Gilberti. And Derek Sullivan. Did I mention Derek? Okay. The purpose of this evening's meeting, when we do get a quorum, we'll take the votes. There are 5 articles. 4 of them not seen before because we did not have free cash certified. Derek, has it been certified or are we making a conditional assumption?
It's been certified. It was certified yesterday.
Okay. In that case, we have $4,180,163. On Article 1, it's to approve the capital planning. And the information I have is for front-end loader, streetlight LED, electric vehicle leases, quantity 4, and for the police department, vests, tasers, radios, and UTVs. So if you have any questions, Derek, I think will answer anything we need.
Just general question, the front end loader, do they stockpile used equipment or do they trade in?
That'd be traded in. That's the full cost of that's probably, we just got it updated. It's closer to $295 with some equipment.
Okay.
So we'll trade the old one in and
Yeah.
that's why we do purchase and equip. So
I came from a place where they just stockpile equipment. Bernie probably knows that they'll trade anything in.
no, I mean, Dave Menard comes from the, he was a wrench twister. He really knows his vehicle. So when he says something's done and get rid of it, it's done. But yeah, I agree. You can't hold on to them forever and have a boneyard back there.
Yeah.
Unless you live in Maine.
Becomes a spare parts yard, and typically the one you bought, nothing fits anyway.
Nothing fits.
Yep. So Derek, you want the figure to be changed to 295?
No, I think we can keep it at the 285 because that's the capital planning. It's really, the equipment is a blade for it and one other item. So I just think I'll keep at the 285.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other question, and I'm not sure you can even answer this, the streetlights, the 50,000, percentage wise, how many you think you're gonna get half the lights in town fixed that are out? 10%, 5%? Is there a general idea? I know that's a hot button subject for some people around town. I'm just still curious.
Yeah, the answer is you're right. I can't answer it.
Okay, that's fine. I knew it was a toughie. It's okay.
It's a constant moving figure.
Yeah.
Derek, are these that decorative lighting?
No.
No, these aren't the period lights. So
Okay.
this would be the regular LED around town. We do put some of the fix on the period lights from the onset parking fund to fix the onset period lights. And then additionally, in the past, we haven't put repair and maintenance in the street light budget, but we did add that line as these LEDs are bringing some of the electrical costs down. By keeping the budget the same instead of lowering it, now we're able to repair some lights. Some of those period lights, though, I mean, can be a fortune.
Now the electric.
I think unfortunately the ones that are like in onset in the park there and stuff, that's a full head. That's not an unscrew the light bulb. It's actually a full head you need to replace on the whole thing. And we want to get away from that and put new heads on where when it's time to change out the bulb, you can change out the bulb rather than having a massive repair.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. And the electric vehicles, have they found for us?
Yeah, so we had to go and basically have them basically have a contract before we could go to the EVIP program. And we originally did it for 3, but I know the superintendent has been looking for one for the custodial staff moving back and forth. So I spoke to her yesterday, and she would like access to one. So they believe when you talk to a salesperson, Bernie, they tell you we'll make it work. So.
Oh, does that mean we're going to have vehicles filling all 4 spaces now?
No.
No, I expect the school to install a charging station. There might have been some discussion about that. Unfortunately, the charging station that we installed was covered by a $7,500 grant. That was to purchase and install, and they only give you one of those. So as we're getting these vehicles, we tried to get them to pay for another charging station, but that was a no-go.
Yeah.
Bernie, you got Tom on the line now. You should have 5.
Join us. Bernie, Tom is
Thank you.
joining us, so we got 5 now.
Oh, great. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Bertie. I'm sorry.
What are you apologizing for?
Well, I guess I completely blew the message,
Oh.
but I'm going to be ready tomorrow.
Tom, I thought you were apologizing for showing up, so that's better.
Hey, I think it's a great idea that you're going to have a trash collection business.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, ever since I saw The Sopranos, I wanted to get into it. So
Okay, the last part on the capital items is the vest, tasers, radio, et cetera, for the police department. Any questions on that issue? Apparently there's none. That's good. So that is the capital items. That would be Article 1.
On the
And,
police department, Bernie,
Beg your pardon?
could Derek explain why they need the vehicle in the police department?
The UTV?
Yes.
Derek?
yeah, let me pull up the police stuff, but that's like a 4-person gator vehicle. If you remember during the parades and then some of the protests, you saw that they were utilizing those during the crowd control, move through them. They also utilize those through the woods and such. So it's another tool that they can utilize. So I think it's well worth them having it.
So for 4th of July, they could use it also on the beach?
Yeah, Dave, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you, but
I'm
I
sorry.
think you said on the 4th of
Yes.
on the 4th of July, they could utilize it. Yeah, they could utilize it. You know, for example, when we're back to having large festivals, sort of post COVID, if you will. But it also it serves as a search and rescue vehicle as well, getting down some of the trails. Some of our other departments have them, but you can really, when you're trying to spread people out, it's better to have more. I'd rather they have access right off the bat. So, but they're great for crowd control, getting from one side to another. If you've been out there during the fireworks, you know how hard it is to get through the crowds and such, and those are often a lot better.
How old is the existing vehicle?
Let me see what. I thought this wasn't replacing one, Bernie. I'll have to double check because we don't have a 4-seater, and the 4-seater is key because you can also move people through the crowd. Having the 2-seater at the flatbed's a little bit more dangerous.
Okay, understood. Okay, and moving on, we have Article 3, which is prior bills. Do we have any outstanding bills, Derek?
We do not.
Excellent. We can move on with that one then. The next one is number 5 with the union contracts.
We don't have a resolution yet, Mr. Chairman, so we have another meeting next week. I believe it's the 8th. So I apologize that it may come down to the wire. But we'll see, because I'll have to get that in front of the Board of Selectmen executive session, and they're working with us. They're a great group. I just don't know if the timing with having moved up is going to allow us to get it all done in time.
Okay. And then the last outstanding issue we have on our agenda is Article 22, which is a solid waste and recycling fee. Now, just let me clarify that this is not an article that determines a fee. It is an article that allows the town to charge one and go into that operation, but it is not determining any cost or fee relevant to the article. But if you'd like to add to that, Derek.
Correct. Yeah, really what we're doing with this is setting the basis to allow a fee, and then a bylaw, if you will, establishing for the solid waste and the transfer station. So let's see if I can pull up.
So
what we've got
will
here.
that article be a bylaw that we vote on then?
Yeah, it'll be an actual bylaw. So I think the gist of it would be no permit for the removal of solid waste from residential buildings containing less than 3 dwelling units shall be issued by the Board of Health of the town of Wareham pursuant to General Law, Chapter 111, Section 31A, except to the person or persons having a contract with the town for the curbside collection of solid waste from such residential dwelling units located therein. Nothing contained in this bylaw shall prohibit the Board of Health from issuing temporary permits pursuant to GL Chapter 111, Section 31A during any period of time when the curbside collection of solid waste is not being performed by a person pursuant to a contract with the town. This bylaw shall also not prohibit the Board of Health from issuing permits pursuant to GL Chapter 111, Section 31A for the removal of solid waste from any commercial or residential buildings containing 3 or more dwelling units. Any person having a contract with the town for the curbside collection of solid waste shall not commingle any residential waste collected or received from dwelling units or municipal buildings located in the town pursuant to its contract with the town with commercial or industrial solid waste or residential waste generated in another municipality. In addition, such person shall deliver on behalf of the town to the Southeastern Massachusetts Resource Recovery Facility, aka Covanta CMAS, only solid waste collected or received from residential dwelling units and municipal buildings located within the town pursuant to its contract with the town. So that's a lot, but it would also establish in there that allows for the fees and such.
And Derek, could you email a copy of that to me, please?
Yeah, we're getting the final okay from town council on it. So I'd rather send you the finalized version.
Okay, please, thank you. Any questions from the?
I have a question.
Yes, Tom.
Some towns have a date for collecting recyclables. Is that going to be part of the problem, part of the approach?
Yeah, so what you have is you'll have a solid waste. So your regular trash is collected weekly, and you'd have I believe it's a 64-gallon bin for that. Whatever you can fit in that for solid waste is that goes within that bin. Then you have a separate 96-gallon bin for recyclables, and that is picked up bi-weekly. Then you'll also have the transfer station up and running, where you can, if you're part of the curbside collection, you can go there, and your trash is pay as you throw, if you will. you'll need stickers in the beginning. So that's why we're trying to finalize all this. So probably just estimating costs, just so everybody knows, you're probably looking at about $2 for a small, it's for the kitchen size trash bag, not one of the bigger contractor bags. And what that does is doesn't just cover the cost of that solid waste, it also covers the cost of the recycling, because we're not going, operationally, we're not going to weigh your recycling separately. It's so inefficient. So you build that into the cost of the bag itself. Because solid waste and recycling are two separate costs right now. Our solid waste is about $77.65 a ton, and recycling is ranging from $85 to $110 a ton.
Thank you.
So while it's more expensive to recycle right now, there's still the push to continue such things, obviously.
Any other questions? There being none, okay. Going back to Article 2, which is a transfer of free cash, we didn't go through that in terms of an item by item. We just established what free cash was. Now, in the action, there's 4 of them, 5 of them goes for town meeting action. One is obviously the transfer to stabilization fund. 1.2, you were going to do 1.6 there. You reverse that?
Yeah, just trying to work with the numbers we have. So
Okay,
if you remember, we originally, this fiscal year's budget has $600,000 worth of stabilization funds in it. We voted that out to make the budget. So we're putting 600,000 back in and another 600,000 on top of it. The stabilization fund, because you can only invest in certain ways, is currently receiving a small amount of return. The interest on that's really negligible. Before, when you were getting about a 1% or something, you'd get a couple 100,000, but we're not even getting that. So I think we should be getting a 0.5%. So I could guarantee about that 3,150,000.
Hey, Derek, so today I went on that DLS and it showed the stabilization fund at 3.5. I guess that was at the beginning of the year. And you took out,
Yeah.
you're putting that 6 in. So it's back to 3.5 plus another 6. Is that the way it'll work?
Yeah, so let me pull up our current balance for the stabilization fund is $3,122,306.98. So we'd already taken 600,000 out of that for this year's budget. So now we're going to put the 1.2 back in,
Yep.
which brings us to 4.3 million.
You feel comfortable with that?
I do. I think we don't. My main concern for us, outside of some of the local receipts and taxes, which we've been fairly conservative about, is state aid. As you know from the charts, state aid makes up about 25% of our revenues. They level funded state aid this year, which is great. It matches. We level funded our budgets, the town and school budget. We thought that there might be a decrease in state aid, so we had gone down as far as 10%. So just circling back to have the state aid level funded this year, the governor's taking, but I think about 1.3 billion out of the $3.5 billion rainy day fund. That's what they've proposed. So we know that they cannot do that year in, year out. But the belief is that where it's going to hit more is in the grants and some of those types rather than the local aid. If they level fund local aid next year, we'll be able to still have some increases in the budget to absorb contractual obligations. If they decrease it, we'd probably have to pull out. That's pull out some money from the stabilization fund, but that's why we do this, right? We have that in there for the really tough days. I'd prefer not to touch it. Our recent S&P global rating, which reaffirmed our AA+ bond rating, listed our, that we have decent reserves, but that higher reserves could lead to an increased rating to hit the AAA status. While we're at our highest bond rating that we've ever had, you want to make sure that you have the best policies possible.
Well, that's the bond rating for the town. It's not a bond rating on any particular bond, but all the town bonds.
Yeah, so this was a general obligation bond through that the sewer department was doing.
Yeah.
So, but anytime they go out on a bond like that, it was a $1.6 million bond. They do it for the overall town. So.
Is that, I forget my accounting, so I defer to you. Is that bond, on the balance sheet? Is that where it shows?
Harry, you're not coming through clear.
That bond for the pollution control facility, does that show on the balance sheet for that enterprise fund?
So, but the enterprise fund is separate, but that is for not for our audit, but for our overall, when we're doing the bond rating, they consider that part of the town's obligations overall. So they'll ask us, we have to notify them what we're doing. If the water pollution control facility, somebody has a scheme to borrow $9 million or something like that, so. I've noticed Jim staying pretty stoic on that one.
His glasses off.
Had to. Man. We're not borrowing anything yet. We just want to prove
Want to.
that's different. That's different.
Okay, the next one, next line item is the solid waste startup.
So right now in the revolving account that we have for solid waste, we have approximately $251,000. And that's been the money that we get back from CMAS, which obviously ends on December 31st. And that was all of last year, then part of this year, plus some of the sales of stickers and such. So, we are starting up a whole new system that requires you to bill people. It looks to be semi-annually for the curbside. And then, we're going to have to pay bills before we get some of the money back in. So we need to have a little bit of a buffer. We're estimating the cost of this operation being close to $2.5 million. So this would give us about 500,000, which is a decent buffer to have. At the worst, we have to utilize it. At best, we don't have to touch it. We're not transferring this into the revolving account. This is going to sit out there as an article, and only myself or Mr. Menard can expend out of it, and it'd be for the transfer station or curbside costs. So obviously we couldn't buy Ferraris with it or anything, or Ferrari, I guess.
Well, they are two-seaters, so there's one for you and one for David.
I don't think you'll fit me in one anytime soon, Bernie.
Okay, the next issue, we have the transfer to the OPEB account.
Yeah, so that's to the Plymouth County OPEB Trust Fund. We've been doing fairly well with that. S&P did list, let's see, upside scenario, we could raise the rating if the town improves reserves and maintains them at a higher levels while improving the funding ratios for its large pension and OPEB liabilities, or if economic metrics were to improve to levels comparable with those of higher rated peers. We've got 1.4 million, I believe, in the OPEB trust fund right now. We've got $1,441,443.66. Our 5-year average has been just under 8%, 7.98. 1 year has been 5.10, and with the 1 month looks to be a negative, and that's because it ended in October. I'm sure at the end of November with this rally, you'd be at 1 point higher, but overall, over the last 5 years, the return has averaged just under 8%, which is considering what we get for we're allowed to invest in other funds and stuff. That's pretty darn good for a non-aggressive fund. I don't know what actually I should have. I can pull that up sometime. I'd like to see what they do for equities and fixed investments. It'd just be interesting to see. So I can get that to you at some point.
Okay. The next issue is the unemployment. That's off our books, so to speak. It's a separate issue now. And
Good.
what kind of impact have we experienced thus far?
Overall, so what happened was there was such a huge amount of unemployment claims. They didn't even bill us from March until into July, August sometime. So our first bill was when everything came together through October was about 380,000, of which there was some fraud obviously in there. I don't know if you've heard, they've been going to every community. I was one in another community. They had my name and my brother's social security number in another place. So it was pretty interesting.
Very interesting,
we
yeah.
obviously don't, we obviously don't pay those, but all told, after the reimbursement from CARES Act was approximately $180,000 was hit against the 300, leaving us 120,000. We're averaging about 40,000 a month right now. So it will be, considering we have November, December through June, so about 8 months, we're going to need all of that money if nothing changes. So I think it's well worth it. If we don't expend it, it just rolls over. So.
Excellent. Good. The next one, the last one for town meeting, I believe, would be the school department, 500,000. That's another one.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. It's just in looking what's been going on with the school department and speaking with the town accountant and the superintendent, we know there's some things that the CARES Act is not covering or is refusing to cover. And frankly, the costs are spiking now, and we'll see it over the next few months. And we don't know what's going to happen with the remainder of the CARES Act fund. I believe, we got close to about a $3 million where they were listing available for us, but it was difficult to actually expend it because you couldn't be on your capital plan. It couldn't be already existing, and you had to, they've turned back things. They said, well, that wasn't relevant. For example, not this election, but the previous one, they bought pens and just everybody take your own pen. Yep. And then just take it with you. They said, well, you should have had pens anyway, so we're not going to reimburse you for that. So, so it's not easy. The ones that have expended all their money, basically, honestly, they weren't prepped for the distance learning and having the one-to-one program. So our superintendent and the leadership over with her at being ready for the one-to-one already was a great thing for the kids to get them up and learning. And it was interesting to see that other communities deemed far wealthier than us weren't anywhere close. But maybe that's because the thought was always their families could afford it. They didn't have to go through the community.
Now, is this going over to the school department general fund and spent, let's say, at the school committee's discretion?
No, I'm putting it on to be, it will stay out there as an article, and it's to be expended by the superintendent. So in the
Language have to
chart
be-
on the motion. So on the motion, it would mean, if you see, it's going to say spending/appropriation authority, superintendent, meaning that nobody else could vote it out of there or take any action. It requires her to do it, or who's ever in that position.
Oh, excellent, because I'm concerned about a few business decisions that have been made lately by the school committee.
Okay, yeah, it's, you'll see some of these, they'll say, who's the spending appropriating authority, the stabilization fund, list town meeting, because none of us can take that out with the town meeting action. Same thing for the OPEB trust fund. And then the unemployment would be town administrator, human resources, solid waste, town administrator, director of municipal maintenance, and school department felt that the superintendent as the head administrator of the school would be the best place to vest that.
Excellent.
And so, question, Derek, should this then item kind of like appear as a revenue item on the school budget for free cash?
It wouldn't be, it would be in the total when you go do the in kind, where it says where that would count towards it, because we've given them an appropriation of $500,000. So that should.
I mean, this was not expected when they were doing their budget, was it? Or is this
No, that they didn't expect this. If you remember at town meeting, the school committee chairman said, well, we've got about 400,000. Can you guarantee me we'll get our money back? I think I said that, at the end of the day, it's really the town's money. That's besides the point of the whole thing. But it's there was no guarantee of them getting any money. And I believe they turned back about 137,000. So I didn't really give any, I didn't take that into consideration as good or bad. I really took into consideration what I think the needs and what I'm seeing the superintendent go through, trying to keep it afloat during these times, having teachers out with, substitutes in, and frankly, all the costs of operating in such an environment.
This money goes into the current fiscal year, not the one they're projecting.
Correct. Yeah, they'll have it. And if they didn't expend these funds, that article still stays out there. So I'm not limiting it really to anything. I just know, and the trust with the superintendent, how she's been, she's taken on a lot and made sure that some things got cleaned up over there. So I have faith that it would be expended in a manner that's in the best interest for the students and the operations.
Oh, indeed. She's had to cannibalize a lot of her supply accounts to make do for all this COVID expenses.
Yeah.
Now, the snow and ice holdover and the rollover, you've said NA on them, which means they don't appear in the article.
Correct. That's just an internal action. We're just not expending those funds. Snow and ice, on a bad year can be 800,000-900,000 for the costs. And last year we expended 250,000. I think we have, sorry, I don't have it in front of me, about 370,000 budgeted, but it's 2020. We usually hold back, and it seems like it's a good year to keep our conservative nature going. we are having problems. People need to understand we're down about 26 blades, which is, geez, that's got to be close to a third of our operating capacity for our hired plows and such. So that's not good. We've been looking at potentially doing a bonus if you come on board, but that's going to be a real money cost. So it's and if you bonus somebody, they have to stay on and come to all calls and such. But it's difficult all over, and some of the contractual obligations have turned some people off. So. And I think Selectman Tropiano was talking about it last night, where some of these trucks, not all of them are like this, but a new trucks can cost you 65, 70,000. Have a good sized vehicle there, and you're getting $65 an hour to beat it up on the roads. So.
And the rollover?
Rollover is just what we try and do annually. We'd like to get that up to, frankly, I'd love to have that as 3 to 5% of our operating budget. It's just another way to have funds available. Interesting thing, Bourne had built theirs up so high that they roll over so much that they'll put $1 million or $2 million into their operating budget. So. We could starve and do no capital for 2 or 3 years and start doing that. I did the projections on it, and after the 7th year, it came back to haunt you.
Okay, are there any other further questions, gentlemen? Okay, there being none, I think we covered everything. As long as we have Derek here, is there any other questions that you may have for him?
Well, congratulations on all the A's.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Yeah, I was saying the selectmen's last night, the selectmen's meeting, and I appreciate all the support from the finance committee. From
Talk about number 18, the state revolving fund. I know that there was like a timeline or a deadline that town had to vote to borrow from this. Is that?
Yeah, I believe the moderator had sent a letter requesting the extension. I believe that's been approved, Jim.
Right.
And we're just actually, by moving up to the 12th, if this were to pass, they're getting a little bit sooner than they expected.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments? There being none, I'll ask for some votes. Article 1, approve and fund the FY21 capital plan. That would be the front end loader, street light, electrical vehicle leases, and vest, tasers, et cetera, for the police department in the amount of $458,000. I have a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. Jerry, would you please call the roll?
Bernie,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500.
500. The next one, transfer of free cash to the stabilization fund, solid waste startup, transfer to OPEB, unemployment, and school department.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Jerry, will you please call the roll?
Bernie,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500.
Now I want to write it up in our recommendation. The last two items, snow and ice, and the rollover will not appear. The next one, the prior year bills, of which we have none, and I will make that comment in as such. Union contracts are currently unsettled at this time. I'll make that reference that they are incomplete. And the last one is Article 22, which is a solid waste and recycling fee.
So moved.
Second,
Motion's made and seconded. Jerry, please call the roll.
Bernie,
Yes.
Dave,
yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Jerry, yes, 500.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or concerns you have regarding the warrant article? First of all, when we have to go to the printer and print the entire warrant and our recommendations, and it doesn't become an abbreviated meeting until the moderator calls it to order and makes that takes that action. So hopefully I'll be able to get this thing to the printer by Friday. It's pretty much all set to go with the exception of page numbers, et cetera, some trivial items that hopefully I'll have taken care of by tomorrow. But other than that, is there any other questions or concerns you have, gentlemen?
Bernie, could the warrant be printed in two sections? One section being what we're planning on for December, the shortened version, and the balance in another publication? So they could both be available and ready, but we'd keep the part that we're not voting on to be redistributed at the next meeting.
It could be done. I don't believe there's time available for that. As I said, it's all together right now. In fact,
All right.
Derek has a rough copy in his hands of the entire warrant. And it's just finishing up some small items. I was thinking that myself, but as I said, excuse me, it would be too time consuming to make that happen. Now, in other business, don't forget, December 12th at noon at the VFW Pavilion is our town meeting. Dress warmly. Yeah, let's see. Nothing really. Oh, just as an aside, I was at the directors meeting for the Association of Town Finance Committees earlier, and apparently Hanson has been advised that they're being investigated by the Attorney General's office for some impropriety.
Oh, no.
So that's little things you might keep track of in the newspapers. Okay, now understand tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, we have the meeting with the school committee. It is a meeting and there'll be attendance taken by the selectmen as well as ourselves. It is official meetings for all three of us. And it's a presentation of their budget as required by charter. I sent the new budget as well as the presentation document to all of you. Go over it. The spreadsheet is a little different than the one that Kim sent us directly. It looks the same, but she has it protected. And I wasn't able to go through it unless I have the password, because there's a lot of other columns she has in there and things I wasn't able to get rid of to try and make it match. But by all means, read through it and be prepared for some questions if you have them. It appears they are pretty much level funding themselves, which is a very nice thing to do. But of course, they've got to absorb a lot of contractual things in there. Is the compromises they made with the unions as well as the ones the municipal side made affect this fiscal year. And I'm not sure how they may do so in the next fiscal year. It may be appropriate that they have to meet all their actual contractual obligations since the unions have already given concessions for FY21. Anything else, gentlemen? Anything you want to say, Claire?
No, just if you planning on coming on the 12th, may want to come a little early to check in. I have no idea how many people will come. But we want to maintain our 6-foot distance, so it will take a little bit of time to check in. So give yourself a little bit of time.
I was anticipating printing about 120. I know, yeah.
I don't know. You just never know. I think for the most part, the citizens understand we're only doing the financial articles, and they are articles that come up every fall. There's nothing unusual in there. So, it's just hard to say. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail at the beginning of the meeting. I still am uncomfortable having a large crowd get together. So I want to get in and out, even though it's outside, as quickly as we can.
Jim, while we have you, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I'm just looking for everybody's support on our article for the sewer commissioners.
Oh, I know 60% of the community will support you.
Well, that's a good start.
Derek, did you have any last minute comments?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I thank the moderator for all her efforts to get this going, move it back, move it up. This has certainly been a time that tests all of us, and I really appreciate Claire's support, all her help. And I don't think anybody will understand behind the scenes what she's been doing, and probably the how many hours she spent looking up at the ceiling at night wondering about this. So thank you, Claire. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I think the one in January or whenever we have it is even going to be more difficult to try to plan out, but I think we've got a good start on it, knowing that it will be a big meeting. It does take a lot of planning.
And I might compliment you, Ms. Smith. You do this as a one-man show. You don't have a committee behind you. You're just one person doing this whole thing.
I do have helpers, that guide me. Especially the Mass Moderators Association has been very good through all of this. Everyone has had their struggles. Every single town is different, but we put our heads together and you kind of pull from one another what might work for you.
I'm sure it'll be excellent.
I hope.
And although it is the season, no hot toddies or spiked eggnog at the meeting. Okay?
Oh, darn. I was
Well,
planning on it.
Well, I would suggest as long as it's in a plain container. Okay, that'd be it,
Thank you.
gentlemen. Yes, go
I
ahead.
appreciate your support. Just thank you, and again, and we appreciate your support and your hard work on this as well, and look forward to being nice and warm with you in about a week and a half.
Okay, I take a motion to adjourn for a meeting I didn't call to order. Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor can say aye. We don't have to do a roll call.
Aye.
Any dissent? There being none. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.